Welcome to the EarthWorks podcast, where our team will share the jargon of carbon from many of our turf friends from the past 30 years.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's version of the EarthWorks podcast. Today, I'm doing something a little special. I'm interviewing the Agronomy team here at EarthWorks, and we're going to talk about what we are grateful for and thankful for this week of Thanksgiving. And we are certainly thankful that we have our health, and we certainly hope that all of you are healthy and happy and are going to be able to spend some time with your family this week. As most of you know that know us well, we have tried to stay as close to home as we can since the pandemic broke out. I've been very adamant that our team stays as healthy as possible and protects their families and you from this ridiculous pandemic that hopefully, if all is good, will kind of pass us by very quickly. But what we're going to do today is just talk among ourselves and say thank you to you. So here we go with this week's version of the EarthWorks podcast. Well, I guess I am going to go first. I am very grateful that we have such a great team. And the one thing that I do want to let everybody know, and you guys haven't even seen this yet, is our dear friend, Bill McCubbin's book is here in live and in hand. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm holding up a copy of A Grower's Guide for Balancing Soils, which is our agronomist's newest publication. It has some wonderful forewords by our dear friend Susan Shaner, who is the labs manager and owner director at Logan Labs, a friend by the name of Don Huber, who was the professor emeritus of plant pathology at Purdue, and of course yours truly. Has put a little forward in there talking about how great Bill has been. There you go. There you go. So we one of the things that we get to do as a team, and we do this every Monday, and if you guys haven't seen this podcast, our biggest podcast to date is the one we did with Lawrence Mayhew, who is our chemist, our friend and our mentor, and he did a wonderful podcast with us on humic acids, and it is by far the most watched podcast in the EarthWorks podcast history, and it's something that we suggest strongly that anybody that's involved in this business gets to watch and listen to. We as a team, and you guys can address this, but we as a team get to spend a good hour or two every Monday with him on our Monday morning conference call, our Zoom call, which is something we've initiated since the beginning of COVID, and it's kept us all together quite nicely, and I am grateful for that and thankful for that. But it has always been a head spinner. I mean, I always come out of it, I need an aspirin and my head feels like it's going to explode. And Kevin and I talked to him, I guess yesterday on the phone, and he did the same thing for a half an hour conversation. So I can only assume that you guys would agree with me on this, and feel free to jump in and help me out with how we learn from Mr. Mayhew every week and get some fascinating information. That's your cue. Jump in at any time and just talk. One of the things, since we're not jumping in, one of the things that we did just do, and I think some of you know this and not everybody on my screen, but we did just run an assay on the amino acid portfolio of our base product that we now call, what do we call it now, gentlemen? Do we remember?
It's changed. I don't know. I think it's changed this last
Biochar.
Biochar. Thank you, Jack. So we have a base product that we use in all of our liquids that we call Biochar, and we sent it out to a laboratory for an analysis on amino acids. And it came back with an amazing laundry list of amino acids that we will publish. We will probably put on our website, but we'll certainly talk about. But anybody that understands the value of amino acids and is interested in using an amino acid rich product, and there is literally more than 20 amino acids in this base product. And I think there's 22 naturally occurring. So we're pretty rich in this. And Lawrence is actually, as we speak, sitting there and playing with his computer program, figuring out what this all means to us, and that's what we do every Monday morning. So that's kind of the happenstance of what goes on in EarthWorks, especially on a Monday morning, and again having somebody as experienced as Lawrence Mayhew on our team just makes us better as agronomists. So we're here to talk about what's going on, and really just to say thank you to everybody, and kind of talk about what we're thankful for here, because we are celebrating Thanksgiving week, and hopefully everybody is healthy and happy and safe, and their family is the same, and hopefully everybody has a chance to spend this holiday week or at least few days with family people in a place where they can all be safe. Because one of the things that we did decide early on, or at least I should say I decided, is as this pandemic really kind of started scrolling across the country, all of us have been pretty heavy travelers over the years, and we enjoy it, and we love having a chance to catch up with everybody in the field. But because of what's going on, we've stayed close to home, and we've tried very hard to do these kind of things, put out a lot of information via social media and our podcasts and a bunch of other things. We've also initiated a program that we call the 2-Minute Turf Talk, where Jack and I and Kevin have spent a couple of minutes yakking. The best ones, of course, at least the funniest ones, are Jack's, especially when he has his mayonnaise jar and can talk to us about that. So if you haven't,
thank you, Joel.
If you haven't seen the mayonnaise jar one, it's one of the better ones we've had.
Mayonnaise.
Yeah.
All about
man.
Man, and it was a great analogy, Jack. I mean, you really pulled it out there. We all looked at it at first and said, "Where's he going with this? And should I push the stop button now, or should we just let him roll?" And
Oh man.
and we let it roll, and there it is, the mayonnaise humic acid analogy. And it's one of the better humic acid analogies you're going to find in this industry. So if you haven't seen that particular 2-Minute Turf Talk, I encourage you to go to our website, pull up the 2-Minute Turf Talks. Although, Jack, I will say, and I'll let you kind of go first since you're the senior member here, the biggest 2-Minute Turf Talk to date is by far the one you guys just did on worm castings. And it was great.
That is pretty exciting. I mean, you kind of started us off here with some current events, and that is definitely one of the current issues that all the guys we've talked to in the last month or so see. You know, particularly anybody that has some native soil in the fall, you're going to see some worm casts, and to hear that. That C3, which helps in so many other ways on the golf course or in any lawn application, also, you know, gardens and trees and everything like that. But to hear that it has this other added benefit of kind of keeping that perennial problem at bay is very cool. So yeah, that was a cool 2-Minute Turf Talk. That's kind of what I wanted to say that I'm grateful for. I'm really grateful for
C3.
No, that's what you're grateful for.
Well, we're all grateful.
That's true. Yeah, I am grateful for C3. I'm really grateful for all of the customers kind of rolling with the punches, shucking and jiving, kind of appreciating that we have wanted to stay safe, and that was leadership from Joel, and I appreciate that, Joel, right from the start of this, that you know, that what we normally do, get out and travel, it just wasn't going to be the same this year, and I appreciate the customers understanding that, and then more than that, kind of participating with us on this sort of cool stuff that we're doing, the podcast, the 2-Minute Turf Talks. Really thankful for the guys that have gotten on video with us or on microphone and have done it. It's you know, you listeners and you guys that participate in the interviews are the ones that really make this fun.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And it has been fun. And I'm going to qualify one thing you said. The intent was that we were going to sit still for a couple of weeks, and then it became a couple of months, and now we've been here for the better part of the year. And it's like, And of course, it's getting worse. So it's really imperative that everybody stays as healthy as they can. I didn't properly introduce you, Jack, but for those who don't know Jack across the country, you are the senior sales consultant here in this company. What, 12, 15, 30 years? How long is it?
Something like that. I'm in my 12th year.
You were 6 when you came on board, right? We found you abandoned on the side of the road or something. I thought it's something like that.
Pretty
no,
much.
that's right. John Chassard kicked you out, and we found you there. That's where it was.
Oh, I've had such a good week of like kind of a good nostalgia week. I've talked to John a couple times this week, and
even though he didn't let us golf today.
Yeah, even though and how beautiful is it today?
Yeah, it's a perfect day here in New Jersey.
It's perfect.
He
was letting me down gently. Well, last time I talked to him, I was like, oh, you're gonna get a good day. I don't know. I mean, our tee time's at 9. It's still gonna be 40 degrees at 9 in the morning. I'm like, all right,
yeah,
well, you're gonna have a good day.
For those of you who don't know who we're talking about, yeah, we actually have a podcast of John Chassard at Lehigh Country Club, a beautiful William Flynn design course in the Allentown area of Pennsylvania. But one of our oldest clients and one of our dearest friends, and at some point there will probably be a series of outtakes from some of our podcasts, and the best ones will be of John, because it was a 2-hour, 1-hour podcast, so it was quite funny. But Jack is our agronomist from the East Coast. He's been with us the longest. He did in fact work for John Chassard at Lehigh Country Club prior to coming on board with EarthWorks, and
that's how I met you. That's how I got introduced to EarthWorks. I think I'm very grateful for that. It happened a long time ago. I remember kind of looking at a case of maybe probably Cal Vantage or Trilogy. There was always an abundance of those around. And before I had met Joel, before anything, and seeing, oh wow, this company's right here in PA. It's not too far away. I see the address right there, Marshall's Creek. It said. It's like, okay, that's right here.
It said Martin's Creek. But
yeah.
Martin, Marshall.
Yeah, trying to send you to Marshall's Creek, but you found Martin's Creek anyway.
I grew up 20 miles from there.
Exactly.
Right.
But
it's the only town that isn't a ville or a burg in that.
Right.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. What do you expect?
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I remember thinking to myself, actually, I said it aloud. Wow, it would be cool, because I knew I wasn't cut out for what you guys do, what a lot of you guys listening do. That I didn't know that I was cut out for being a superintendent. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, it'd be really cool to work for EarthWorks, for a company like EarthWorks. That would be great. And yeah, 12 years later.
You, right? John Chassard.
Thanks. But anyway, I was saying I was having a real nostalgic week. I was thinking about some of the other things I was grateful for, and music came up. In my head, these came up for those that can't see. These old school wired Apple headphones. Love them. I love them. You lose them, $20 later, you got another pair.
We all got them in our pockets. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the best. So anyway, you can really jam out. I'm grateful that John used to let me listen to music while I cut greens or do whatever else, because
that have a choice.
Really, well, I mean,
it wouldn't have mattered.
I had no.
Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, maybe he didn't let me. I don't really remember.
Yeah, I bet he didn't. I bet he had no idea.
So yeah,
I hope he's listening.
Because I had a great time rocking out on that golf course, cutting greens or stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, the nostalgia went further, because then I was combining all of my favorite things. And it brought me to the memory of, was it maybe 2 years ago around this time? You, Joel, myself, your buddy Tony from Connecticut, and Chassard.
That's right.
We're in Manhattan for an excellent evening of Steely Dan music at the Beacon Theater.
Yeah. And what did you do there? How does Tony remember you?
I boogied to my heart's content.
He was dancing like a crazy man.
I think the analogy was those big blow up things outside the used car dealership. The hands in the air move.
And
wacky, wavy, inflatable arm guy.
the Tony that we're talking about is Tony Girardi, who is a dear friend up in Connecticut. And every time I see Tony, he still says, "So how's that crazy guy got working for you?" And he starts doing his dance thing. And it just cracked me up every time. I can see that 100 times more, and it'll still crack me up.
Yeah,
and he's just very funny. But that was, of course, the same time when we shared a couple rooms, and Shazard knocks on the door in his work clothes, and Tony opens the door and goes, he thought he was the janitor.
We are having a plumbing issue over here.
Yeah, exactly. Come on in. It's the janitor. No, that's John. Oh, okay.
Oh man,
did somebody call the janitor? I don't know. It's actually our friend John, but that was quite an experience. And I look forward to the days when we can actually do that again. And I will be grateful at that point when we can. And I think it's going to happen sooner than later. And I'm very optimistic that we actually can all get out and see the people that are important to us. So
that's right.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate that. Next up is the man who loves talking into a microphone on a regular basis, and is our second eldest. Kirk Kastner is in Dallas, Texas, and is our regional agronomist for probably the biggest region. Well, you and Kevin are fighting for the biggest region.
Yeah, we probably should calculate that.
Yeah, we probably should.
That asked me this morning. Like, that's got to be the biggest territory. If you pick Canada, I think I got you.
Yeah, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Canada doesn't. Well, let's take Canada out of the equation and we'll play it straight up in the States. But so, Kirk, I'm going to embarrass you and tell you the story of how we met, which, of course, I still, at this point in our career together, after 4 years with us? How long have you been here?
This is my 5th year.
Oh, see how fast it goes? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Or either that or my senility is kicking in faster than I thought. But when I was riding with one of Kirk's distributor reps, and before Kirk came on board, and I was talking about the need to have somebody on board for us in that region. And in those days, these guys all had young kids. So where I typically, when I travel, I would spend the evening, meeting with superintendents. But, this particular day, there wasn't anything to be had. So, he threw me off to my hotel. But we were talking in the way and goes, "Oh, yeah, I know a guy. I can get him over here right now." I'm like, "Really? You got a guy that is that desperate? He'll just come over right now." So I'm like, "Okay, that would be great. That would be a lot of fun." So I had him meet me and I didn't have a car because I was being run around by the sales reps, and had told this gentleman to meet. This was Colby Johnson and from BWI, and I had him meet me at the restaurant bar across the street, and I walk in and there's Kirk standing there holding my favorite beverage, a glass of bourbon. I'm like, "Really? This is what they told you to do?" No, really, I swear. So it was love at first sight, and 2.5 years later, 5 years later, he's still here, and killing it on the southern tier of the United States. What's going on in Texas? How's the family? What's happening with superintendents?
We're obviously very grateful for the health. Family's good. Everything's good there. But back to that story, I know you'll never, ever believe it, but he never told me to go to the bar and order.
Sure.
I swear to God.
That's coincidental. It would have been a lot funny if you were standing there with 2 bourbons in your hand. I would have either been very concerned, or I would have been thinking, "All right, maybe something's up here." I don't know.
No, Joel. I drink bourbon all the time. Well, not all the time.
Sometimes.
Just when I'm alone in a bar.
I figured out,
exactly.
If I was going all in, if it was something you didn't like, then I knew it was not going to be for me. But if you liked it, then we were going to
I don't like this stuff, but I got 2 of them in case you were interested.
And actually, when you asked me what I was going to be thankful for, I was jokingly going to say bourbon, because
well, we're all thankful for that.
I think it's helped a lot of people get through the past 10 months.
There you go.
But yeah, the family's great. We've been healthy this whole time. So very grateful for that, and grateful for this team. All of you guys. I think we all have our certain roles and that we play, and everyone has their strengths, and we can play off of that. And it's a great team, and we have a lot of fun, and we all learn from each other, and obviously a great company, a great product that we're all very proud of, and so that's awesome.
And we need to thank Jerry Brunetti for that as well, obviously a founding member who unfortunately we lost many years ago now, but very, very thankful to have had him in our lives. Kirk, you have done probably more construction work than any of us, certainly in the last few years. I'm in Florida, Texas. You got a big one going in Texas now with Eric, right?
A couple of big ones in Texas, Florida, Oklahoma. That's just, I mean, lucky to be in the right place where it's all happening right now, and having good reps to work with, and very supportive, and so yeah, that's a huge blessing, and that's a fun part of this job, is seeing these jobs come to fruition, and whether it's building brand new courses or renovations, it's awesome. It's a great experience.
And we've gotten phenomenal feedback from the guys that have worked with us on how quick the grow-in is. And, you and I think, have talked at one point about the work you did at Pelican Club with Chris Sr. and how he had to get that up and running so quickly. And he did, he front-loaded everything. And that's really what biological soil management dictates. But he got it done. He got a lot of stuff in there. But, man, he opened up fast, and he opened up super strong. And the return on the investment was phenomenal. They were able to get that property up and running, and you did a great job. And there's a couple. Well, we're doing.
Speaking of Pelican Club and Chris,
Yeah.
You can see him this week on the Golf Channel. The LPGA
That's right,
is there this week, and so check it out. It's glowing. It's phenomenal. The greens are. I actually talked to Chad today, who's the rep that I work with through Chris. Obviously, I'm not bothering Chris this week, but he's out there volunteering. He said the feedback is incredible. The greens are rolling so true. They actually wanted to slow them down a little bit because they were pushing 12s on the stent meter, and there's a lot of undulation on those greens. But yeah, check it out.
Repeat that again. It's on. When's it on, and what is it?
It's on right now, I think. Actually,
Yeah, I think it's
It's an LPGA event, and it should be on the Golf Channel.
Okay, all weekend long.
Yeah,
we're actually recording this on a Friday, so they probably will have already seen that by then, by the time we get this aired. But hopefully everybody did get to see the that tournament and that property, and if you get a chance to get down there. And right around the corner from them is the Blue Jays complex that you work.
And if Chris ever listens to this, I'm sorry I couldn't be there this week. I promise I'll be there next week. I'm supposed to be there, and with COVID and everything, we're trying to do our part to be smart, and so I wish I could be there. I apologize I can't be there, but we thank you for the support, and I will be there next year.
Let's hope all of us can get out.
Please, please.
Yeah.
Let's not be stuck in this box for another year. But you're also doing the Blue Jays facility right around the corner from Chris.
Yeah, we did the Blue Jays last year. They did 3 fields. They're doing 3 more fields this year. Actually working with Pat right now as we speak, trying to get that set up for. They're supposed to be laying grass in January to get ready for spring training. Hopefully, I think pitchers and catchers start reporting in February, mid-February. So
let's hope.
A very tight timeline there as well. So
yeah,
a great success story of these jobs always come down to the very last minute, and they have to open quicker than they like. So that's one of the benefits of working with products.
Renovate Plus, Myco Replenish, Ecolite, all these things that we use in construction amendments have been a godsend for us for a long, long time. And we've seen phenomenal success stories, and a lot of them over the last number of years. So it's been good. Thank you, Kirk. I appreciate that.
Conversely, Kirk, I had a conversation with one of our reps south of me that we had worked pretty hard on doing just that with some sports fields, soccer fields in particular, for a municipality. And there was a changeover in management and some other things happened. Well, they never got the renovate in. And I just got the call the other day. not that we would have been the only solution, but sand-based systems, and they're sucking wind right now. And so now they're going to spend 5 times as much time, money, and effort to amend the soil afterward than they would have, than they would have on the front end. And so it's frustrating sometimes, and it's got to be rewarding when you see guys, bite it off at the right time of the project and really see that success right up front.
You guys have all you guys have all heard me tell this story, but we back many years ago, we were working on a project where the superintendent brought in the amendment package, Renovate Ecolite and MICO, and there was a lot of politics going on at the property and a lot of battling between powers to be on the property. And they got to about 16, 17 holes in with the amendment package, and the power shifted, and the person that came in didn't want to have anything to do with the amendment, so he actually shipped them back to us. And this was well over 10 years ago, and still to this day, the few holes that did not make the amendments, and they pulled them all out and just went with a peat and sand mix, those holes still to this day, 10, 12 years later, suck wind compared to the holes that got the amendment package. So it's a very similar story, Kevin. And that is Kevin Hicks. He is our Western rep. You guys have heard Kevin on the podcast. You've heard me interview. I guess you were my first podcast, Kevin, actually, on the EarthWorks podcast. I think you were the guinea pig of this whole little platform that we're doing. And in that podcast, you heard the story of how Kevin and I met, which was many years ago through a mutual friend, Mr. Dave Wilbur, when Kevin was at Desert Forest down in Arizona. And for all those years, this was probably mid 90s that you and I,
early 90s.
Early 90s. And I mean, it was early on. And, and it was a running joke that by the time you got to Coeur d'Alene, you were convinced every year you were going to get fired by the big rich boss. And we kept saying, just call me. And one day you did. Right. And the rest is history. Yeah. And Lisa Kiefer, who is actually the person who runs this company and we love dearly, and has been with us for now well over 20 years, was really the first to fall in love with you. And when I got that call, she basically told me that you will be hired. I'm like, yes, boss, whatever you said. So, my hands were tied, so it had nothing to do with me. But Kevin is out on the West Coast. He is the former superintendent at Coeur d'Alene, along with a bunch of other places, Hillcrest and Boise and Desert Forest, and as is Jack, another fellow Penn Stater with me. So there's 3 of us against you 2 guys in Penn State. One of the when I did the interview with Justin Mandan on the podcast that's running this week, it was interesting. He worked for a very well-known Penn Stater, Mike Rothenberg, and I couldn't imagine that he actually hired a Rutgers kid, but he did. But a good one. So it was all good. So Kevin, what's the weather like going on out there? You're out in Coeur d'Alene now.
I was actually thinking I probably need to shut the shade in my skylight. We're actually sunny today. It's 50 degrees, I suppose, something like that. So
you've had snow.
We've had 2 snows already this year, and that sucks, but
yeah,
that's where we are. But we'll be up and down a little bit, but guys are still playing golf.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Most of the systems are blown out, but they'll play until they can't, basically.
Oh, that's good. It's been a phenomenal golf year. I mean, you think about COVID has not hurt golf in many ways. In some ways, obviously it has, but I mean, let's hope that this momentum of golf in our communities continues, or we find as an industry a way to continue this. And I know you've talked about this with me and all of us a number of times. How do we do that? How does this industry maintain this golf enthusiasm that's going on right now?
I don't know.
No, we don't.
I just, you mentioned Dave Wilbur. I just got off the phone with him before I hopped on this conference call, and he and I talked about that very thing, that the trickle down effect of some of our success this year in the industry is not happening in a lot of places. When you look at what parts of the facility have been in operation this year and what have not, the obvious sign should have been the important asset of the property is the golf course itself.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of cases that that hasn't been recognized, even though the restaurant is closed and all the outside events have been curtailed or canceled, and yet the golf courses are doing record numbers everywhere in my region, and I think everywhere in the country.
Yeah.
So I hope my question to all of my clients and my reps that I talk to is the industry smart enough to capitalize on this? And I haven't gotten a really good, warm, fuzzy feeling about the answers. We tend to think very short term in the industry, and instead of capitalizing on the increase in women's golf, the increase in junior golf, we're kind of looking at today's dollars and raking in as much as we can and not really thinking about the future. So I hope we're better than that, but we'll see.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Has anybody heard like how are programs like the First Tee going? Are they expanding through this year?
The First Green, which is more on our side of the industry, we just had a review of our local chapter, and the challenge there has been gatherings and groups. And so a lot of that stuff has been slowed or halted this year. The Northwest First Green chapter has had 3 meetings, 3 gatherings this year when they could get them done versus dozens. So that part of it, I think the First Green's an awesome program, and I'm so glad GCSA has taken it under their wing to kind of really help them along. But it's going to be a while, I think, before they get caught back up.
Well, let's hope they do and get going. We've talked about, because we're talking about all this, extensive amount of golf. I think we've done this on podcasts and 2-minute turf talks, but certainly the necessity and the importance of putting the property to bed properly. And obviously in our world, properly means feeding the soil a bit, is real imperative, because it'll keep that soil going. I mean, don't forget that these soils are going to be alive, even if the club is shut down and all the, the irrigation is blown out and the golfers are gone, soil still stays warm until it's really frozen. And great time to get that soil working so you can come out of the chute. Because I hope, and I'm going to knock on wood, I hope that next spring this momentum continues, and making sure that we maintain this investment, as you call it, the property, it can really return benefits tenfold if we can do things right, and taking care of Mother Nature and taking care of the soil and feeding microbiology, as we all talk about so often in our talks and when we meet with clients. I haven't seen in the 30 some years that I've been doing this probably a better time, because of the surplus of play that we've had this year, a better time to get some stuff into the ground right now and really get that soil ready for next spring. And it's been good.
Well, it's a 2-pronged thing. I mean, it's much of a recovery type of approach.
Yes, it is.
Because most of the areas of the country that had that increase in golf, at least for the first part of the year, they were 4x the number of carts going out with a group instead of 2x anyway. A lot of single riders, a lot of extra wear that we didn't really take into account, and certainly hadn't taken into account the previous fall or even in that spring. So recovery, as much as set up for next year, is really where a lot of my clients' heads are right now. Is how do I get caught up, number one, but then also get myself ahead for next year.
And you guys
or
are
to that point, Michigan, 55 degrees today in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
Golf's not ended for us.
Right.
So you're also extending this season in a lot of places, and it's one of the only things you can get out and do.
And it's been that way all summer. I mean, all year, really. I mean, it was the first thing that everybody realized: if I'm going to be stuck in a box, I can at least go out and play golf.
Right.
And, and who doesn't love having their own cart? I mean, really, other than the superintendent, who doesn't love to be able to run around, especially when you play golf as well as I do, and I have to, go looking for my ball in the woods all the time. It's just great to have your own cart and be able to run around like that.
You're not helping.
Yeah, that wear and tear. I mean, your point is well taken. That recovery, and then of course getting these guys set up for next year is real important. The other thing we're still seeing, which I'm surprised, even in the middle, actually now the end of November, we're still seeing a lot of soil tests come through, and that's important. I mean, this is a great time of year to look at your soil audits and pull soil samples. The soils, this is a great time to look at what the foundation is, to look at even some water-soluble paste extracts. If you haven't run water, run some water before you shut it down, just to see what it looks like this time of year. And I know I sent you guys all a bunch of soil tests this morning, because we're still getting a pretty good flow. And I talked to Susan Shaner at the lab yesterday, and she's still seeing a nice flow coming in. And I think that's an important thing to be thinking about, is running these tests and making sure that we're looking at numbers properly. And Kevin and I talk about these things a lot, because you see some really strange ones, like those waters we looked at yesterday.
Oh man, I got some this morning from a rep that might be the worst I've ever seen, and not from an area of the country I expected. So it's interesting. Yeah, going back to my one statement about how important the asset of the golf course is. An old superintendent friend of mine has a great saying that that really placed the importance on the golf course to his general manager at the time. He said, when it's raining, is the parking lot full or empty at the club?
Oh,
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. And I'm sure that's the same way across the country. I'm sure you guys are all seeing the same thing, with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the golf course is the asset, and the other step further is the real asset, as in any organization, is the people. And it's the people that take care of that golf course, because if it's not well taken care of, then it's no fun.
Yeah.
So, it's the people.
And I think one of the things that we would all agree on is that this industry, of all industries, is the hardest working industry. I mean, golf course superintendents, sports field managers, lawn care operators. I mean, the work put in during the season it's just unbelievable to me. The hours, the passion, the attention to detail in most places. I mean, this is just amazing. And the ownership that they take. I mean, I remember, Kevin, when you were even on the last years of your run over Coeur d'Alene, the passion and the ownership that you had. And I see this in so many golf course superintendents. It's just amazing to me that you guys,
to our own detriment sometimes.
To your own detriment. Absolutely. There's no question about that. And there's, Chad and I have talked about this a lot, but there's certainly got to be a happy medium of hard work and home play. And maybe COVID has helped us understand that a little bit better, and we can carry that with us for a long time, and understand that, being away from home, 80, 100 hours a week is not necessarily. And Chad, I'll just jump right into this and introduce you as our, what are you, a Midwestern rep now. We met Chad, Kirk and I met Chad actually when Chad was essentially growing in Trinity Forest in Dallas, a wonderful Bill Core Crenshaw golf course, and had the real privilege to work on with you guys and watch you guys grow this thing in, and watch how hard you worked on all this. But Chad has, in the last few years, moved up to Grand Rapids, and is now very thankful, I'm sure, that his lovely, beautiful bride is about to give us another Kuzawa.
Yes.
We're a little concerned about in some states, but for the most part, I think it's good that all things are going well. And I understand she's healthy and doing well, and you're settled into the new house, and you didn't make her carry a couch, right?
No, absolutely. So, no, very thankful for that.
And congratulations.
Everybody keeps saying, thank you. Everybody says, it'll be a blessing beyond what I can imagine, and it already is. So I imagine everybody's right. And correction, I actually first met you, Joel, at when I worked at Colleton River.
Oh, that's right.
Bluffton, South Carolina. You actually did an academy, and the day before you did an academy for kind of the group of assistants. So to correct you there, but yes, got to really know you in Dallas.
Yeah. Well, that's when we, exactly. So we threw you to the wolves by basically putting you up in Michigan and leaving you alone and not giving you any support and hardly ever talking to you, maybe throwing you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every once in a while. But you've been
Was there peanut butter on that sandwich?
there could be a little peanut butter on that sandwich, but we've thrown you to the wolves. But you've really gotten out there and started talking in a part of the country that I think can use biological soil management better, more than any part of the country right now, and it's starting to take hold. And you're having some pretty good success with some very good people. I mean, it's been interesting watching what you've been able to do, and hopefully we can continue that. But what's going on?
I think there's a big need for that. Like you said, biological soil management. We have really calcareous sands, and we have a lot of solutions for helping those things out. And we have a short season. You really need to make the best out of what you have. I know I mentioned we're still golfing now, but typically Mother Nature's in charge. It could be an early fall, it could be a late spring. It's really nice. And working with EarthWorks through the Grow and Trinity Forest, like you said, really helped my understanding of how a soil works and how you can get it to work for you. And it's just something I believe in, and I think there's a great deal of help that we can provide. I really do believe in what we do. And I'm certainly, yes, like you said, very thankful for the incoming child, baby boy. But I'm also thankful for all of you. What's that?
What's his name?
Not Joel.
Like the one bit of information I'm able to keep private, I feel like at this point.
So good.
TBD. No, but thankful for all of you. The two people who really help us all out the most that aren't on here, Melissa Bodine and Lisa Kiefer. They certainly definitely deserve a shout out. Being new, they have helped me immensely, just as all of you have. But you guys are a great team. I'm very thankful to be a part of that. And I'm thankful that I get to say I echo everybody's sentiments, and I don't have to speak as long as everybody else. But
Just
healthy, happy, difficult year, no doubt. But such is life.
Yeah, the one thing you did mention is that we do have a phenomenal team and a bench, and obviously Lisa, who I've mentioned already, has been with me for over 20 years, and I'm still alive, which is a testimony to that in its own right. And of course Melissa, who keeps a lot of this thing together, Susan Shaner and the entire team at Logan Labs, Bill McKibben, who just put out his new book, Lawrence Mayhew. We've got a resource team that is incredibly deep. And the neat thing, and the one thing I've been really grateful about this year, is that we continue to learn. And I mean, nobody is taking any of this for granted, and we're constantly studying new things, and bringing people on like Bill McKibben and Lawrence Mayhew to spend time with us as a team before we even take this out to our clients, to help some clients out in the field, has been wonderful. And I can't tell you how many times I hang up on Monday and say, I didn't know that. Or if you listen to any of the podcasts, I'll say, I didn't know that. I keep saying, I didn't know that all the time. And I'm like, I think that's probably a good thing, because it at least allows me to admit that I'm still learning at my young age. And hopefully we'll continue to keep learning so that we can continue to help clients out in the field doing their job as well as we possibly can. So I'm going to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And I am very grateful that we have such a great team, you guys and all the other folks that I just mentioned. And it's been an interesting year, and hopefully we never see another year like this in your lifetimes, and certainly in my lifetime. But we've survived it. I think we've done as well as we can. Like I said to everybody listening, the podcast is out there. It's been fun. I think it's been informative. We've been trying to do a lot of 2-minute turf talks. We are going to be at the GCSAA virtual trade show. So if anybody is listening and is planning on attending, I think it might be okay. I mean, I think it's going to be an easy way to go in there and get some points. We're going to set up a a conference call like this, a Zoom call, so that as you get into our trade show booth virtually, there'll be a place where anybody can come in and sit here like we are now on a Zoom call. And if you want to spend a little time, directly with Kevin or with Jack or any of us, we're going to be able to go off into private little meeting rooms as well. So it won't be a complete bust. It won't be what we're used to. We won't be able to have beers with anybody, but we'll try to make the best of what we can for what it is, and understand the fact that we're trying to help everybody stay healthy and not get sick. And that's really been the first priority for all of us at EarthWorks over the last number of months. And like I said, I hope we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And as we get into early next spring, when things start happening, hopefully we can go and see some more folks. So I am going to say thank you very much for all your support, for you guys, and for everybody listening as well. And unless you guys have anything you want to add here at the end or make fun of me or something like that, we're going to...
I missed the line to say, well, you're older than dirt. So.
Soil. It's soil.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
It's soil. It's not dirt. Don't forget that.
Yeah, Tom or Dr. Waddington should have set you straight with that one.
Exactly.
Wasn't he?
I had to say that in all my classes. It's soil. Dirt's what you have on your mind. So having said all of that, thank you, gentlemen. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving to you guys and to everybody listening. And that's our podcast. We will be back with somebody else next week. We don't know who yet, but one of us will be doing a podcast with one of you or somebody out there listening. And we're grateful. We're going to continue the podcast as long as we can. And hopefully it's of value. And if anybody has some suggestions, and I've actually gotten a few suggestions from, hey, my old boss would be a great guy to interview. And I'm like, that's actually a very good idea. I think,
yeah, good call. Reach out to us. If you want to get on this podcast, you got a good story to tell. Yeah. Reach out.
And again, we're trying not to make this an EarthWorks commercial. Obviously, many of these folks are our clients, but we're trying to make this so that it's of value to everybody. And the greatest compliment I think I hear is that, he said this one thing and that made a lot of sense to me, and I'm going to be able to incorporate that in my program back home. And if that's all we can do in these things, or maybe make you chuckle a little bit, we've done our job, and that's what we're grateful for. So having said all of that, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.